Welcome to the Pistol Midweek Mental Break.
All right, what's good, Mark?
Hey, buddy.
Midweek, brother. Midweek.
Midweek.
And again, I'm going to sample that, and then we're going to use it for the intro.
Oh, my gosh.
Better than Mark's.
Oh, what?
I like
Midweek Metal Break.
Yeah. That's like my favorite. People, last time I was out at one of the groups, they said, dude, Mark's intro, it makes me so happy. Welcome to the Pistol Podcast. We want you better than when you started. Sometimes just hearing that makes me feel better sometimes. And they were actually saying it.
Do you want us better?
That's nice.
It's a genuine kind of phrase, too. Only Mark could come up with it.
Only he could pull it off, because if the rest of us tried
Yeah,
to
we
do the
wouldn't
same
sound
intro,
like
it just wouldn't come out right.
It was great.
You guys are funny.
Okay, so this week, unfortunately, we'll start with two Minnesota police officers had taken their lives. One of them, there was also something, on a side note to that, there was something else that occurred, I think in New York, right, Veronica, where the New York police officer had the gun in his mouth when they found him?
Yes, yep.
That was quickly corrected, and he got the help that he needed. But so could have very quickly been three, but two out of Minnesota. One I know for sure was at the top of a parking structure, and I'm not sure if it was the police parking structure or just a parking structure. And this goes right to the heart of everything that each of us have been through, is that hopelessness and hollowness that we feel. And I'm not pretending to understand when people take their lives or judging anyone for taking their lives. But that officer that did that, his partners had to respond to that. And they're the ones left behind that are struggling with that. And I'm not trying to take away from the officer and what he did or how great of a cop he was. It's sad all the way around. And that's why we need to bring awareness to the whole, is it a cancer? What would you call it? Like a fucking...
It's a disease.
A disease?
Yeah.
It's a chemical
An
imbalance.
epidemic is
Yeah.
what it is.
It's
yeah.
a chemical imbalance in your brain, and that makes logical sense. Having been at the ugly end of that gun before, and where I am now, it frightens me to think about what I used to think about. But I've seen that, and I thought, you know what? This is the best thing. This is my relief, and this is how I'm going to find.
It's like a reset, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you're thinking?
But to that, but
I mean,
also...
I don't even know I can't even know what I was thinking because
You just wanted it to turn off. You
I
wanted the
needed-
shit
I
that was
needed-
happening in your head to be
yeah,
gone.
and nothing that I'd used before was working to
Right.
give me a moment of relief, and so I just like, you know what, I really need to stop this because it's completely painful. I mean, it's a physical pain.
Mhm.
It's not just a bad thought or you're having a bad day. It's a physical, tormenting, agonizing pain that it's physical.
It's debilitating is what
It totally
it is.
is, and it's
I hear
killing
you hear the screams and you think to yourself, I can just put one bullet in and it ends right there.
Yeah.
And that's to wake up and just know that's what the next day is going to bring, right, Mark?
Oh, man.
You wake up and I'm saying this to you because I've sat with you so many times and you think to yourself, if I go to sleep, I wake up and I hear the bang, right? It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And that's the
It's so depressing.
Yeah.
Like I was just going through this today. So I woke up this morning at 12:30, and I was like, I'm just so weary of this. Like, and I know where I'm at because when I pull back and I say, "Oh, where are you in the year?" Okay, your days are starting to shorten.
yeah.
And I'm telling you, all of these things, tiny bits, but a big factor. And I know the days are starting to shorten. I know my sunlight consumption is less and less. I know my chemicals are starting to change and evolve with the season. We're about to go into fat person eating at Thanksgiving season or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these little tiny things have a huge impact on it. And so I just thought, don't fret and don't act on this. Do what you can. So go through my little checklist. Okay, first thing you need to do is this. Second thing you need to do is this. Third thing you need to do is this. I got down to about my 8th item, and I got back into bed, and I was like, okay, this might not work. I might have to do something else. But I was able to squeeze out an extra hour and 15 minutes of sleep. And I got up today at 3 o'clock, and I was like, this is it. If I keep trying to fight myself into sleep, it'll just depress me.
Right.
So I just got up 3:15, 3:30 today. I was like, this is my day.
That's when you started your day, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And right now it's, what time is it, man? It's 6 p.m.
It's like bedtime.
Yeah, it should be bedtime right now. Shit.
No.
I can
I don't
actually.
Then you'll-
even want to. I
I
don't
know.
even want to go to sleep right now because
You'll be
I
up
will
at
wake
9.
Yes. So I gotta push myself into it.
Mhm.
Push. But anyway, where were we going with that?
I don't know.
No, I will say no, and that is the part of the disease. Yes, 100%. I think what makes it an epidemic and what spreads it is when the partners go on the call, when they experience a traumatic or event from citizens that crash their car or something like that. That then spreads to those 4 people that witnessed that call. Then they decide to kill themselves or something like that. It spreads to 4 more people that went on that call. And that's how it starts to spread across the nation, and that's how it's became the epidemic that it is. We, instead of stopping and teaching ourselves about what this epidemic is, we have put up blinders to it, like we're going to speak on Sunday. It's unbelievable how much negativity is surrounded by getting help. It's unbelievable. So,
Yeah, it's tragic. What it is. I mean, these guys are taking their lives on duty, off duty, and people know. I think Veronica posted something for our pistol. Was the president allocated like $7.5 million for mental health? $7.5 million. Somehow that doesn't seem like a lot of money,
Yeah.
but
But it's at least a step.
it is
'Cause
a
we
step.
had nothing
7
before, and no
million
one
more.
who cared before.
Right.
7 million more than we had yesterday.
I mean, when you think about $7 million, that'll just take care of New York.
I mean, and here's the thing:
Maybe.
what is that really gonna what is that spent towards?
It'll
I would
probably
like to
be spent
see
on training,
Exactly,
something,
yeah,
training the
I-
supervisors that are not going to do anything
exactly,
for you.
and I would just like to see what that was being spent on.
No one knows. I don't think they even really know what they're going to use
Right,
that
no.
training
They're
for.
just
Like
gonna use it
Veronica said.
blindly training.
Well, they'll bring in the wrong people to talk about mental health.
They'll bring in that one guy we talked about before that
Oh.
says it's not
The
not
EAP.
PTSD. It's
Yeah.
it's their own personal issues.
Or they'll bring in the person that says just think happy thoughts.
Yeah, the EAP professionals.
They'll bring in the hippie holistic guy like Teabag over there.
Hey,
just think happy
motherfucker.
thoughts.
I was just
I think
gonna
I've,
say.
I
Happy
think I've,
thoughts.
I think,
No offense, Tony, but
I think I have helped quite a bit.
You have quite a bit. I'm down quite a bit in weight, and I now eat within a certain window because of you.
yeah.
So
Life choices.
I thought they were good choices. Your choices.
Is there a way to know or find out, like, how long have suicides by police officers been tracked? Because I've only heard of it the last couple of years. Like, even when this first happened to me, we weren't hearing stats. There wasn't news articles. There wasn't things like that coming up saying, oh, 2 new officers just killed themselves. Like, you weren't hearing that.
That's a good
So is it
question.
something that has been there forever,
Yeah.
and we're just hearing about it now because people are talking about it
Because
a
I
little bit
started
more?
losing friends about 10 years ago now, and I never heard any information.
Right,
on
you
that
never
back
hear
then.
anything. Nobody talks about it. No,
Yeah.
the families don't discuss it. Like, it's
No.
just a hush hush kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think that prior to the last few years, it was done after the career. It wasn't done while in the career, and that's been brought to the forefront.
Well, think about this. Remember how, I don't know how many years ago now, but we had that one incident, and I don't remember off the top of my head what the outcome ended up being, but there was a Phoenix officer who was found dead in his patrol car.
Yeah,
On
there's
duty,
there's
and-
still some circumstance
Right,
around that. They
yeah,
think it
and
was
so-
a inside job over
Yeah.
some bad business deals, but
yeah.
they said suicide. I think the medical examiner said suicide. The weird part was his gun was across the fence, and
Right.
there was a
some
lot of
things
weird
like
stuff
that.
about that. But in my 20 years in law enforcement, these things were always after you left, never while you were
Mhm.
on. Blue Help, I think if you go to Blue Help's website, whatever their existence is probably when they
When
started
start
tracking it. Yeah, because they're the ones that actually take that, and it's really it's subjective, is what it is
Mhm.
because it's really subjective to who sends in the information, right? Now, if it's on duty, that's different.
Yeah.
But in some of the cases, a lot of these officers are doing it at home, off duty, or after their career. Because look, everyone in this room is retired because of PTSD for one form, shape, or another. If one of us decided to take our lives, no
Nobody
one
would.
is going to pay attention to that.
Right.
Well, and
that's
and
still a real battle.
Right.
yeah,
for
because people are
all
gonna
of
write
us.
it off to, oh, he was just unhappy in his relationship,
Right.
or he was this, that, and that, and it's like, no, these were all symptoms of the root problem, which
Right.
was PTSD. You know.
Right. So they wouldn't, I don't know that they would necessarily say it's a direct result of the career.
Yeah.
But his family could probably trace it back
To that.
to that.
Right.
And now I think with departments running a lot shorthanded much more, and then the propensity for violence that we're seeing with active shooters, people are much more violent nowadays. You're going to start seeing more of that. But I don't know that they would even have a prevention for that, and I don't even know that they really care to keep the stats. It's really Blue Help that's keeping the stats
Right.
because they want to, which is good, but nobody's paying attention.
Yeah.
If it didn't happen on duty, it's not their problem.
Which is why some of them are
doing it
Right.
on
uniforming
duty.
up
Yep.
because they don't want it to be ambiguous.
I mean,
Right.
I know.
want you to know what did this to me.
Right.
And then
And they
there's
do
the
it
ones
on
that
uniform.
have taken their own lives off duty, but they're in full uniform in their home, or their
True.
full uniform. Their class A's are
yeah.
displayed with
Some
all.
sort of
There's
Right.
some
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
shrine to that
But
job.
and then there's no voice there, right? You're not getting a voice. Even New York, their voice is just in the history of New York City Police Department. Within the last 8 to 10 months, they said, "Oh, free mental health for all our police officers." Think about that. It's taken that long and this many lives to correct that issue. But as we talked about in the podcast, you have to be able to get the person to get the help when they ask for it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to be suicide after suicide after suicide.
Well, it's just like stage 1 cancer versus stage 4 cancer. If you come into PTSD early, we've spoke about this on the podcast, but if you get the treatment early, you can, to an extent, get it dealt with and get it, move on with your life and that type of stuff. But if we sit on it and stay stagnant, it starts to rot away at your brain pretty much and just
Right.
stays in this like loop of just
Yeah.
constant
Mhm.
shit,
And then at the end of it, when you're about ready to kill yourself,
Exactly.
your suicide note, if you even leave one, is just so
distorted.
yeah, it's so muddied. You have no idea. Nobody understands what you're even talking about. I think mine was like, tell my friend I'm sorry I didn't finish his remodeling project.
You said that?
That was mine. That was mine.
Yeah. And it's weird what goes through our minds
It
at
is
that time.
so fucking crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Think
it's-
about, because I remember thinking shit like that.
It's
Like,
crazy, man. It's like so far away from everything that's. It's. I mean, you're out of your mind, completely out of your mind.
and you're like paging through every memory. You're paging through everything in your head.
Well, it's
like,
flooding,
yeah,
and it's like.
yeah. I remember getting
you
in.
can't slow down a single thought.
Yeah.
And everything's racing past you so quickly.
Yeah.
I had a fight with one of my best friends in college, and I had like almost like went like 2 years without speaking to him. And I remember that came up, and I was like, I wanted to like call him and just be like, hey, dude, I just want to let you know. Ever since then, we're
Right.
good, right?
Yeah.
But like just to like mill it over just in case,
Yeah.
it's fucked up.
Yeah, so that was one of the things on last week. The other thing we held specifically because Mark and I both worked detention at Maricopa County, and both of us were detention officers. Hey, Mark, what was your ID number over there? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Was
I
it a-
I remember my badge number at my department,
But not, so you were an A number though, right? Because I was an A number.
Yeah.
So I know they're up to B. They might even be up to C at this point, which tells how old we are.
Wow.
But so this midweek, I'll dedicate to Officer Jin Lee, who was killed in the line of duty while on duty at the Maricopa County Sheriff's jail facility in Lower Buckeye.
Yeah.
And one of the things,
A 64-year-old man.
he left
Right.
an engineering career to go work in the jails.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Mark and I can tell you right now, there is no sound that can be duplicated than when you walk in the Sally Port and then those slider doors shut behind you.
Right.
Right? You hear the racking of those doors, huh, Mark?
Yep.
You know you're locked in with those
You
motherfuckers.
never forget it. You know what
Yeah.
else you don't forget? The smell. The smell of all. Once you get into one of those houses where you got 160 men. and
It's
I-
just, you know
adre-
what?
The testosterone.
Oh,
and
you know
the
what?
grossness
It's it
of
just
you
in the
shit.
air.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the stink.
You
it's
nasty
not.
Yeah.
boys.
It's
It's
not
like-
humidity.
Man,
it's
it's like-
testosterone.
First of
Yeah.
all, they're not fed the greatest diets on earth, and their toilet is right there in
Yeah.
the open. and it's
Ew.
But you know what,
so
though?
Horrendous.
I worked the closed custody and lockdown in the jails, and they sent me over to Estrella jail, which is an all-female jail, one time.
Oh, those girls are nasty.
Let me
too.
tell you something, Veronica. I came back after that shift, and I looked at my lieutenant. I said, if you ever send me over to the female yard again, I will quit this job. Men are far cleaner than anything. Everything is reversed in prison and in jail. Those guys used to iron their clothes,
Oh, they're
Right?
very proud
Yeah.
about their
Yeah.
uniform.
They're
creases.
very
slash-
prideful.
Yeah.
They're-
Let me
they're
tell you, I went
stripes,
over to
man.
the female side.
When they had a visit, boy, you better give
Oh,
them some clean
yeah.
stripes,
Yes.
or you're gonna. They'll just fight you.
Yeah.
They'll get-
Let me tell you, I
they'll
went over to the female
livid.
side, and it takes a lot to kill a fucking cockroach. But y'all women killed them motherfucking roaches like they were. You guys were raid, man. It was vile. And then I'd be doing a walk and checking on the girls, and I'd be like, I can't do
All right.
that sexually.
Check
Like, I don't
yourself.
know.
Check yourself.
What are you asking
Before
me
we
to
get
do?
in trouble. Before we get in some trouble.
But so, anyways, we got off topic there. But one of the things that really pissed me off about this tragedy with Officer Lee was Channel 3 News, and a big fucking middle finger to you motherfuckers. They go to interview the sheriff, Paul Penzone, and here's an officer that was killed. And I don't remember the last time a detention officer had been killed in the line of duty.
I don't either.
And they do some digging, and they find out that this suspect who actually killed Officer Lee
Right.
was an accused pedophile
Right.
and had filed a lawsuit against Officer Lee,
Saying he saw
saying that he saw him urinating and
and
made fun of his
laughed.
penis
and
for
laughed at
15
him.
seconds.
Yeah.
And the thing that's fucking shitty about that is the news, Channel 3 and specifically, they questioned the sheriff about why wasn't Officer Lee removed from the housing unit upon the complaint.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about when
The
you're
same reason that you complaining about that news person, they're not going to get removed from anything. There's a process.
right. There's a process behind it, and probably that the inmate who's been accused of this is probably lying.
Mhm.
And mentally not stable.
I think he's totally stable and mental, and he's a fucking liar. And I don't like the fact that Channel 3 flipped this story and made it seem like Officer Lee was wrong.
Right.
Like he should have been removed from the job.
Right.
You know, I like the sheriff's response with the modest
I did too.
staffing.
Yeah.
He was very professional. I don't have to be as professional,
Right.
but fuck Channel 3. And mainly because that officer was killed doing something you didn't want to do, right? You want to read a teleprompter like a monkey, then that's fine. But if you're going to judge us, get a gun or put a badge on and come take care of these
Well,
fuck
that's
nuts
just
in
how
here.
removed they are. And
Yeah.
They want to stay far left anyway. But
It was
It's,
was just absurd that they would
like
do
what
that.
what Sheriff Penzone said. He says we can't possibly remove every officer from a detention facility because an inmate files a lawsuit against us.
Right.
You know how many lawsuits I had against me?
Oh,
Dude,
I can't
would
even
get
tell
a
you on
lawsuit
mine.
if I didn't get them a bar of soap on.
Right.
Well, yeah, like
Like,
that's the thing is they got
come
a
on, I'm
lot of
trying,
fucking
man.
time on their
All
hands
they
here,
have is
guys.
time.
Like,
So they wait for you to come
they're
on
gonna make
shift,
up a lot
and
of
as soon-
stories.
Yeah, and as soon as you come on shift, bam, bam, bam.
Oh, yeah,
bam,
grievances.
They'll throw 4 grievances on you.
yeah,
The minute you walk through the door, I was like, dude, I just got here.
yeah,
Yeah, but 7 days ago. And it's like,
yeah,
7 days ago, I didn't get you a towel and a piece of soap on time.
yeah.
And
And
I
that's-
was known as a Santa Claus.
Right. Oh my God.
I was.
Jesus
man.
Christ.
I'm telling you.
I didn't know you guys existed.
Yeah, I was. I was one of them.
Yeah,
It's not my soap. I'll get you as much as you want. I
Yeah.
don't care.
So that is the I know that detention, dispatch, and those guys are not always lumped in with first responders, but I worked there. That's where I made my bones. That's where I learned how to deal with people without just pointing a gun at someone.
Yeah.
I didn't have a gun in the jail.
Yeah.
I had an ERD, which was a little fucking stun
It's a
gun.
joke.
Yeah, half the
All
time
it's
the
gotta do is
battery
get
didn't
your face
work.
beat in.
Yeah. So you learned verbal judo. I got
Yeah,
my
I
black
did.
belt in verbal judo
I
in the
did too.
jails.
I did too.
I could talk people out of fighting me all day
But
long.
keep in mind, folks, here's what you're walking into. When you walk into that house, there's 2 officers. One's in a tower he can't come out of. You're down there with 160 raging men
Yeah.
of all. I mean, you can have murderers and people that are there for a DUI. Everybody in between.
That guy
And you have no weaponry on you at all. You got some pepper spray that
and a
they-
radio.
They will maul you, and you won't get any of it. And I've seen it happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I've gone in on rescues where officers were getting just pummeled
Yeah.
mercilessly, just their faces pounded in.
Yeah, there was many times inmates had to help the officers.
Oh yeah.
And that's
And it's horrendous.
that's
man.
something that's a very, very thankless job.
But back to Officer Lee. I hope that dirty SOB. I hope they refire up the electric chair and electrocute that man. And he definitely deserves it.
I think they should put him on a main line as a child molester.
Mm-hmm.
That's far better than giving him the chair.
Well, here's the thing. You know, and I know because you work there. They house all sexual predators
Oh, those
together. So guess
PC
what? There's
motherfuckers.
no judgment against
Right.
those people. The only judgment they have is the minor time if they transport with normal.
Like in
inmates.
transit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's
But
it.
that's even rare. I
Right.
mean, we know to protect them and save them. And so you got all these officers housed around these people, huddling around them, providing guidance, protection, and care to get them to and from their trials amongst inmates who, believe it or not, have a code of ethics, and they will beat that person to death if we don't protect him
Right.
back and forth to his trial.
And just
And Officer Lee was there protecting that man for that purpose, for that cause, and that reason, putting his life on the line between him and the other inmates, as it were. And that guy turns on him and smashes this 63-year-old man's head into the ground and kills him.
yeah.
Go to hell, man.
That's what I say. So, all right. So I appreciate you guys again for the midweek. Every week there's always something, and I always look in the news and I'm thinking,
That was kind of spicy.
yeah, I know. I look in the news and I think maybe this week we won't have anything to talk about. Fuck, man. There's always something to talk about.
Something
Jesus
happening
shit.
with cops
Never
all the
stops.
time.
So I appreciate you guys coming out, and we'll talk to you next week.